Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host, Evan Teague. With me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So we have quite a bit of stuff to talk about today. But first, I just wanted to bring up that unfortunately last week Carl Weathers did pass away.
Mm.
Yeah. I mainly know him. He's an actor that I haven't seen most of the stuff he's in, but obviously you've seen a bunch of like gifs and clips and stuff. But like obviously, big part of the Mandalorian. Even directed a couple of episodes. He had a
Hmm.
glorious recurring character bit in Arrested Development. Have you ever seen that show?
I haven't, but I heard it's amazing.
Yeah, he's in a couple episodes of that. He's very funny in that. But yeah, just like
Yeah,
I think it was 76. That's just
yeah,
just very sad. Just as it's this actor that, especially when this might be a little selfish, but like actors that are in stuff that you're actively invested in, like
hmm
Lance Reddick last year, like he's going to play Zeus. He's playing Zeus in the Percy Jackson show that just wrapped up, and he was in one episode, and like, wow, he was great in the little bit he was in that. He would have been, if he came back for future seasons, he would have been great in that. Um, but
Chadwick
whatever,
Boseman,
it's
obviously, back in a few years back.
yeah,
So
yeah. Andre Brower a couple years back.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
unfortunately, yeah, mostly known for the Rocky movies, also back in the day.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah. Okay, well, moving on to something that might be a little more actually still talking about a dead actor, but actually kind of potentially more cheery. Um, so there's been this big controversy with the new Suicide Squad game that came out about how it like people feeling like it disrespected Kevin Conroy with how that all shaked out. But it has been confirmed that Kevin Conroy did record some lines for Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3, the animated movie.
hmm
So that A confirms that the Suicide Squad game will not be his final performance as Batman, and also that probably confirms that what we all hoped that movie would be eventually get to, like a crossing of various different, styles and universes of DC animated stuff coming together. So that's exciting.
yeah, this would be interesting. I know. Oftentimes, whenever there's like another Batman voice, when they do like an alternate version or like an Owl Man or something like that, generally they have like Kevin Conroy do something like so it could be like an alternate or just like another Batman or maybe
Mm,
whoever. So glad to see there's something. There's always more kind of because yeah, the Suicide Squad did not do them too well. But to be fair, there's a lot going on with that. So
there, yeah, there's a lot of just systemic issues with that game that I want to get into more at a much later date. Like I have like a whole dossier of like what I personally would do for a Suicide Squad game. I don't want to get into right now, but like something I kind of want to touch on later. But yeah, just as good as he is in that game, the fact that it ended the way it did just does not left a bad taste in your mouth until this information came out. It's like, oh, good, he'll at least be Batman one more time. So
hmm
that's cool. And assuming that part three of that movie does turn out the way I'm hoping, that I'm really looking forward to a potential situation of like, Bruce Greenwood, Kevin Conroy, oh no, what's his name?
Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, Jensen Ackles, like and whoever else has played Batman throughout the years, being
It's a
in a
lot.
room together on screen, having a conversation as Batman just sounds like a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, just all the Batman.
mhm. Okay, moving on over to Disney stuff. Um, Moana 2 is a thing and is coming out this November.
Oh, that was bad. Okay, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like 3 years ago, it was announced that Moana would get her own show on Disney Plus, and then they just decided at some point that it was going to be a movie. It didn't tell us, and now it's coming out in November. So I hope it's not just like 3 or 4 episodes of the show taped together. I hope it did kind of turn into an actual movie.
Yeah, I mean that that feels very like quick though, doesn't it? I don't know.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also the fact that there's a live action Moana movie happening with that the Rock that
Which
the
again
Rock is
nobody asked for, but
which
here
like
we
no one asked
are.
for.
But
Yeah. So I mean, I like Moana. I think it's pretty solid. I don't really know what a sequel could do necessarily, but I mean, if Disney is good at doing anything, it's churning out sequels to movies we didn't ask for, and they're being so it might be at least mediocre. You know, like
I mean,
it's
uh,
at least as good as Frozen 2, then it's not the worst thing ever, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess Moana. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the movie ended, like there was no real like logical next step. So it's like, okay, cool. But I mean, there's possibilities. I'm sure they could figure something out.
Yeah, I guess like the tribe now, like you know, going out into the ocean
Right.
together.
Something.
Like
It
I don't
just
really
depends
know,
on how
but
they.
yeah, it could technically be like a road trip movie, but on the ocean. I guess that's kind of what the first one was. Oh, well, it's. I'm sure they'll do something that's at least decent. Hopefully, we just gotten a little teaser just to say that it exists. So a trailer probably at either the like Disney presentation thing later this year, Comic Con or something. So that's cool. And Disney was just I don't know why exactly, but Disney had just a bunch of random announcements today. They also announced that Zootopia 2 is releasing next year. So we've known about that one for longer than the Moana
Right. That's
movie.
what I was thinking.
But like, yeah, the first one, I do really like that movie. I feel like it was marketed kind of terribly to me. The fact that every single time I saw a trailer for it, it was that sloth joke, which is funny in the
Oh
movie,
yeah.
but just in a trailer, it's not. It's not.
It was definitely
Ugh.
overplayed in the trailer.
Yes, for like half a year, every single movie I went to, that trailer played before it. So I was almost dreading go to the movie just because I knew that trailer would play. And I didn't see it
Mm.
in theaters because I didn't think it would be worth my time. And like, I've seen it later and it's actually pretty good. So, again, hopefully the sequel is at least half as good.
Probably.
Although I think Zootopia is also getting a show or was a show and turned into a movie or something. I can never keep up with how many shows that Disney is making or was making that got canceled or whatever. But at least a movie that's releasing in theaters, which again with Disney is kind of it's up in the air of whether or not a movie will actually be in theaters or not. Like there was a Peter Pan remake a year ago, that was just on Disney Plus and no one saw it. And no one, no one talked about it or cared.
Kinda, yeah.
um, yeah, speaking of there was announcements, and then they also confirmed that Toy Story 5 and Frozen 3, two other sequels no one asked for, are releasing in 2026.
Why are we like?
Because
Listen, I love Toy Story, but why are we still making Toy Story
because
movies?
Toy
We've
Story
had.
4 made over $1 billion, same
I
with
know
Frozen
it
2.
makes money. Like, obviously, yes, the correct answer is because money, but like, come on. Like, at some point, we're gonna stop milking these, right? I mean, I guess not. I don't know. I just
I
how many
mean,
times can you perfectly end the franchise? Like, We were
4 was
done
not
with it.
perfect, to tell you that
I
much.
mean, Toy Story 3 was what, 2009?
9 or
And we're
10, yeah.
still going? Like,
Hmm.
why? Let it go. It's okay. Toy Story is literally older than both of us, and we're still doing this. Like,
Yeah. But it's not even like a anniversary type picture. I think Toy Story came out in 95.
yeah,
And
the first
yeah,
one's 95.
so
It's like,
26. It's that. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, come on. I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, whatever. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Frozen 3. Oh, it was kind of funny. Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2 came out in the same year in 2019. So then they'll just do that again in 2017 and or 7 years later and hope for the same results. And one of those will at least make a billion. Combined, I wouldn't be surprised if combined they made they made 2 billion at least. So
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, but I don't know. I'm still just like, I get it because again, it makes a lot of money. It's one of the most beloved things ever in terms of like Pixar. But I mean, still like five. I mean,
yep.
four was already too much, but now we're doing five, and it's just like, all right. I don't know. I'm like, especially now because we've like gone away from like Andy and them, right? Like it's just some random girl, which like, not to be mean, but like,
Well, the the problem is the Toy Story 4 didn't do a good enough job making the audience care about Bonnie. Yeah, Bonnie. Like, I was gonna remember her name for a second.
that tells you all you need to
Yeah, like
know.
we're supposed to like the entire movie is basically like Woody specifically basically being in denial about him like not really fitting into the new situation, like him trying really hard to get all the other toys energized about being with Bonnie, but he's not believing it. And then by the end, him not even going back to Bonnie, he just stays at that amusement park. So we didn't even really spend that much time with Bonnie in the first place. So now I don't really know what, like, is Woody gonna come back? That would defeat the purpose of the fourth one entirely. So I don't know really what this is gonna be.
No idea, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but they'll figure something out. You know why?
Money.
Cause money.
Oh yeah.
I
Now
respect
a
the hustle.
movie
Don't get me wrong.
movie from 2026 that I actually am excited for is The Mandalorian and Grogu officially is coming out in 2026. So
Yeah.
yeah. No official announcement of like a season 4. There are rumors that essentially this movie is taking the place of a season 4, which, if
I'd be
that is
okay
the
with that.
case, I think that's fine because season 3 seemed to wrap up everything fine enough for like, if
Mm.
there are more adventures, cool. But if not, this even had like a Looney Tunes esque like, you know, pan in to Grogu and then like, one of those fade to black. So you know, I like Star Wars. I like The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Jon Favreau is a great director. So yeah, let him make this movie. Why not?
100% seems awesome.
Yeah. Um, and Donald Glover did confirm that the Lando movie is still in production.
Hey,
No real further uh, information outside of that. He just says that he likes the character and has pretty strong creative control over the movie. So it is still happening. So that's neat.
yeah, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Like, yeah, Donald Glover is great. So, I mean, yeah, I'd be fine for that.
Yeah, he was definitely the best part of the Lando movie. Sorry, of the Solo movie.
That's all you need to
It's,
know.
it's um, so yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm it's it's a little funny that after Episode 9, there hasn't been a theatrical release of a Star Wars thing since 2019. Yeah, 2019. And the first one will be a movie that's like basically a sequel to a three-season show that is also like tied into this greater Star Wars universe that also includes the Boba Fett show and the Ahsoka show, which is getting a second season. So like, I
Mm.
hope it's not. I hope it's easy for people just to get into because not everyone can watch, you know, can watch everything. I think given enough time, considering it's 2 years out, you easily
Yeah.
could. But yeah, not everyone can watch anything. Not everyone can follow every thread and understand everything. I get that. So I hope it's pretty easy for people to get into and not be confused.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, because even season 3 of Mando was, even for me, was getting a little rough because like you had to watch Clone Wars and Rebels and Boba Fett and
Well, it's
and
like,
season, just it's a lot.
well, I mean, it's kind of just what Disney's doing now because it's kind of like, I mean, it's the same thing with Marvel because I mean, what to watch? I don't know, like any Marvel movie now, it's like, okay, did you watch, these three movies? Did you watch this show? Have you know
Mm.
this? Well, yeah, this character was doing this. This character was doing that. You need this. You also need to know about this one scene from this after credit scene from this other movie that has nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
Like,
but at least Marvel movies are generally pretty good about catching up the audience pretty quickly, like the Marvels. Oh, who's this? Who's this Kamala kid? There's a very brief little like narration about who she is, what her motivations are, etc. Oh,
true.
how did this lady get her powers? Which hex? Moving on. You get it. Yeah, like you didn't even need to watch Secret Invasion to watch the movie. So you don't really need to watch anything else in order to understand this movie outside of maybe a little bit of Captain Marvel, kind of. But so there, I hope that the writing team behind the Mandalorian movie at least doesn't make it you know so overblown that people who know nothing about it will be overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, probably not, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yep. Speaking of something that we just kind of have to wait and see, um, this Netflix Avatar show has just been a roller coaster of emotions for me because for
What is?
years we both got on record saying that we did not want it to happen. We saw the movie in 2009 and was like we don't want this to happen again, and then you know little like stuff kind of started coming out like oh this actually looks good. The first teaser looked good. The first like real trailer actually looked kind of
It
good,
was
and then
dude.
the interviews keep coming and these creative team keep talking and like every single thing you like about each of these characters is just changed for no reason.
Dude, it's one of those things where you finally realize you're like, oh, this is why they left. Like,
Yeah.
and it makes sense now because again, the writing stuff was put in first, and that's why so far early in the career is like, no, you're doing the show completely wrong and just dipped. And we
Hmm.
were all like, oh, red flag. But then enough time
Yeah.
went by, and then the trailers came out. We were like, oh, it looks really good. Oh, yeah, this looks
Yeah.
like this bending looks great. The locations look great. Everyone looks ideally casted.
Hmm.
And then, but see, we haven't seen the writing.
Yeah.
And now
Because
you're
I had.
hearing little snippets of, oh, well, we're not adding this in because this doesn't add to the character. You mean half of the whole reason the character is the way they are? We're not
Yeah.
adding that in? That seems important to me.
Because it had
But
been so long since the Avatar team had left the project that I had forgotten they were attached at all until this
right?
information came out that I like came back to me. It's like, oh, Netflix probably mandated these changes, and they didn't like that, rightfully so. So they left. And just to get into some of those changes, the first big information came out that they decided to try to take out Sokka's sexism, which on paper sounds like a theoretically like a good thing. However, the point
If you've
of that,
seen the show, like
the
but
point,
that it gives me
he's
like this gives me very much. I haven't seen the show, but I heard it's good vibes. Because
Mhm.
again, like you said, without the context of watching the show, that makes sense. Because you're like, oh,
Sure.
well, one of our main characters is borderline sexist in the beginning. That seems not great to have. Which,
In
like,
the
yeah, on
5 episodes
paper, without
in, he's
actually
over it.
watching the show, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm like, as soon as we get to Kyoshi Island, we're done. Like, it's literally like 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But like, but just that right there just feels so like. And
Yeah.
again, like I get it was kind of like a big deal, like it's a little heavy-handed, but it's like I feel like it was written that way on purpose to
Yeah.
like
For like,
show through the like the whole 180 he goes on.
yeah, like two things about that. First, it was it at its core is a show for all ages, but mostly children. At the time. So yes, like they did kind of like exaggerate a little bit, just to kind of get the point across, but also yeah, just make the like make the 180 feel more impactful. But two, which also kind of going on that like it was fine for children in 2005 like and they grew up I don't think to be sexist people. We generally as a society have gotten better about that, so I don't think I think showing a character getting over that is fine. Like anyway,
Especially,
the
especially
se-
early on in the show. And again, I think one thing that's really like misunderstood about this is that like he wasn't just, oh, you know what, I suck, I'm just a mean person. It's like it was based off of a cultural thing. That's just how it was. Because again, he
Mhm.
was the only guy even at the tribe. Like all the men left to go in the war, and it's literally just like Grand and a bunch of ladies, and then like he's like the man in charge technically, and he's like
Mhm.
what 15. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
like it's kind of the customs that was kind of just handed to him. It's not really his fault. And I feel like that's an important thing to have. Because again, I'm not saying he's right to be sexist, but it's like that I think having a theme of like some learned or top behaviors are not necessarily correct is more powerful than just nope, we're just gonna skip this.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like he felt like he needed to be, the man of the town because he literally had to be, and that like he essentially had to grow up faster than other people, thus thinking in ways that like kids normally wouldn't, which kind of just skewed his view of the planet. But when he actually did grow, it he got over it. But like
Yeah,
the second thing I want to touch on is him being like him like having like those sexist tendencies literally started the show. Like
yep,
the first thing that happens is him and Katara get into an argument where he like chastises her about like belittles her or something, and she gets mad at him and creates the events that caused the iceberg to crack and ink to come out. So how is that scene gonna play without that happening?
I mean, they're probably just gonna make her like accidentally do it, but I mean, it's still stupid in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, the other major thing that really annoyed me about how they viewed the show, they they said that Aang has much more of a drive. to stop the Fire Lord in this show, so he's not gonna be goofing off as much. He's not gonna randomly start riding the giant koi fish just just because he has much more of a drive. It completely undermines everything the show's done before.
Like, I mean, they're just saying, we don't like Aang's character, so we're just gonna change it. And it's just kind of like,
Yeah, like first of
that
all,
feels
the
wrong.
entire reason the show can exist is because Aang ran away from his responsibility. so, so is
And
it? Oh,
honestly,
after hibernating for 100 years, he's like, oh, I need to fix my mistakes. No,
right,
wrong.
because it's not like, I mean, because in the show they established he didn't even realize it had been 100 years. He thought it was just like a nap. So
Mm-hmm.
he is no, he didn't. It's not like he was frozen for 100 years and reflected on what has happened and the
Mm-hmm.
world needs me. I must go back. It's like, nah, there was a literal like entire like this whole part of him just kind of running from his responsibilities and then kind of just you know trying to have fun. He's 12. He's a kid. Like it makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't want to save the world. I want to go ride the Unagi, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I
Exactly.
feel like, yeah, like having this whole drive or whatever thing, it's like, I feel like, yeah, that kind of defeats so many purposes here. It's like, I feel like that's why I mean, it's just rewriting the character for some reason.
Yeah, and also the scene they well, not exactly, but like it's even like written into the show that him goofing off is actually beneficial to the group because there's the point where Zuko mentions how Aang is so hard to track. He's like he's so good at this. He's an expert at this. And then it
He's
cuts to Aang
clearly
being
a
like, I don't know where we're
master
going.
of evasive maneuvers.
Exactly. He's like, I
He's
don't know
like,
where we're going.
you have no idea where you're going, do
No.
you?
Like only because Zuko thinks in such a structured way, Aang being more ambivalent, like and goofy, Zuko would never
Not
think to do
possible.
that. If he just made a
Right.
straight beeline for the North Pole, that's exactly what Zuko would think he did. So that just ruins the whole structure of the show. Like, how are you gonna?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And again, that's part of like, and it shows their duality because like, as the show starts, they start out so different. Where Zuko's this like, everything's always serious. Nothing is a game. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
the most important thing ever, especially find the Avatar. And he's literally just like, no, let's go over here. This is more. More fun over here. Let's do this instead. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I obviously I'm a little more nervous about about the show after
So
these
I
reviews kept
I'm
happening.
terrified.
Um, I be like I already mentioned in the past that I feel like them, it will be. I assume most of the show will be a shot-for-shot remake of the show, and that could be a hindrance to it because if they don't do it as well as the original, then it's instantly going to be, oh, I don't like this. So if, but also you can't stray too far away from the source material, or else it won't feel familiar enough, and people won't like it either. There has to be a fine line between between the two, and I feel like it's going to be a weird mixture of both without really knowing what it wants to be exactly. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just like I get not making it a shot for shot remake, but then again, why are you making a live action remake if you're not going to make it like pretty? I don't. It's hard because like I guess you kind of have to change some stuff, but it's also like don't rewrite the. I feel like rewriting the show and like it almost feels kind of like, I mean, not to be, it feels like the Zack Snyder thing. It's like you're gonna take a character and
Mm,
something that's already been established as successful, but I'm gonna make it different, but still want it to be successful because of like I put my stamp on it. It's like you want like if you want your idea to be successful, make it your idea. Don't just take an idea
mm.
that already exists and is successful. That defeats the purpose.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. At least they're all airing at the same time, so it won't take you. It won't be weeks before we find out if it's actually any good. It'll just be like that weekend. We can come back and be like, oh, that was actually better than expected, or wow, that was bad. So at least there's that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, at least we know it's gonna look good, which probably wasn't really the
Yes.
worry to begin with. But
Well,
yeah, this
we've seen it
the
look
right.
bad. So
I mean, no. Like again, like yeah, they're like we know it can always be worse. Again, I don't think it's going to ever be the Last Airbender bad, but if it looks this good and like the bending looks this good, the location, everything looks this good, and the writing is awful, that is very upsetting
yeah,
in my opinion.
absolutely. So
But
coming out
I don't know,
later
man.
this
This
month, and yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it. I feel like it's just not a wise. I don't know. This just feels lots of red flags now.
mhm, yeah. And this is not a show where you can afford any because people already are like, you're going, you're adapting the best thing to ever exist. If you're
Pretty
not
much.
perfect, you fail, and I fear that they're not getting an above average score on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about this, but
Yeah.
you know what? Anything is possible. We could be
Mhm.
wrong. It could
Yeah.
work out and be great. I just don't feel great about it. And again, the story is one of the best parts, if not the best part of the original show, especially
Hmm.
how their characters specifically are written. So them casually changing two of the like main character, including the main character, so
Hmm.
casually feels very red flaggy. But
Exactly.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. We'll just have to see. Okay. Last topic that I have. Um, so you know how Microsoft has kind of been getting their butt handed to them in the console race for over a decade now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Xbox One just stumbled out of the gate and they fell these face planted and then just tried to get up, stumbled again, and just kept stumbling for 5, 6 years. And then like, oh, we're gonna turn around this generation with the Xbox Series, and the momentum just didn't really pick up. Like they made all the right choices, but people just didn't
Care.
gravitate to it. Yeah, so there are very credible sources saying that Microsoft is planning on bringing a pretty good amount of their first party games to other systems.
Oh, really?
Yes. The initial report for a while now has been that Hi-Fi Rush, a game that released early last year, was going to be coming to Switch and PlayStation. Which there have been cases before where like smaller games have come to other systems. Like obviously Minecraft is still everywhere. That was everywhere before they bought it. But the Ori and the Blind Forest and all that, those games came to other systems. Cuphead, which is was paid for by Microsoft, that came everywhere eventually. So it felt right for a colorful, like colorful stylized game like Hi-Fi Rush to come at least to Nintendo, if not other places. But then this newer report was saying that games like Starfield, which I'll get to that more in a second, and the new Indiana Jones game coming out this year
Oh, I
potentially,
know about that.
um, are also coming to PlayStation. Which it's
I mean,
very funny that
Starfield is huge.
yes, it's very funny that Starfield is one of the games that's mentioned because
Yeah,
before
because I mean
Microsoft.
that this was supposed to be like the new Halo, and like this is
Mhm,
our answer to all these PlayStation exclusive. And then
yep,
like what, 2 years in, we're like, I don't even.
yeah, it's just it definitely didn't move as many systems as they were hoping, which was like any would have been nice, but it didn't really seem to really do anything. And part of the reason is because Starfield is like because it's a first party game on Microsoft, it is basically automatically going to be on Xbox Game Pass. But Game Pass is also on PCs. So Starfield can be played for free if you have the PC Game Pass, so you don't even need an Xbox to play it. Not really.
Mm.
Um, so I don't think like I don't think nearly enough people bought Starfield because they just got it on Game Pass for it to be worth the investment. So they're like, oh, maybe people will pay for it on PlayStation. It's also very funny that Starfield specifically was mentioned because before Microsoft bought Bethesda back in 2021, I believe, um, like in 2020, there were reports due to the whole uh, Activision Blizzard court thing that happened last year. A bunch of insider documents were released, and part of that revealed that apparently Sony was trying to court Bethesda to make Starfield exclusive to PlayStation before they got bought.
Mm.
And now it was like, oh, actually, it's our game, but you can also have it.
Right. As long as you remember whose game it really is, sure,
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
So like, it's so funny that the big fear of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard was that Microsoft will just make Call of Duty and all these other Blizzard Activision games exclusive to Xbox. When in reality, in order to recuperate that cost, they're gonna have to bring all of their games to other systems.
that's what I'm like. I'm like, what is the point of this? Uh, I mean, I don't.
That, well, probably the absolute funniest thing to come out of the whole Activision Blizzard buyout. Probably the absolute funniest thing is the fact that in order to try to show the FTC that they are willing to still bring Call of Duty to other systems, is that they struck a deal with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo systems for at least 10 years.
Wait,
Nintendo was
what?
just fine without them. It's really Microsoft being like, "Hey, can we do this?" And they're like, "Sure."
Yeah, I don't see why not.
See, we're willing to play nice with other people. It's like that's not the system that we're concerned about here.
It's not. I mean,
Um,
gosh.
but very shortly after these reports happened, Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, sent out a tweet that was like, "Look, we hear you. We read the reports. Just look forward to an announcement next week regarding our future plans at Xbox." So
Okay, I
yeah,
guess.
there. This is going to happen.
I mean, I don't know. I
And
guess.
I guess like
I don't know. I don't
like
see. I don't know. It feels very like you're. I don't know. I don't want to say crash and burn because I thought Starfield was doing well, at least like the people who played it, but it doesn't sound like it.
yeah, like Starfield didn't. It wasn't as well received as I'm sure they were hoping, but it still is like a pretty solid game.
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely didn't explode like they were hoping it would. And like kind of funnily enough, like I think Baldur's Gate 3 came out 2 or 3 weeks after it, and
Mm.
it did. So it
It,
just
yeah. I
any
mean that.
goodwill Starfield had, it just got completely stomped by Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I mean that'll happen. That game was really good too, so
Mm-hmm.
you can't really do anything about that.
Yeah,
But
but it's just been very funny watching people's reactions. Like I understand completely feeling like if your system doesn't have any exclusives, that it feels like you wasted $500 on a system when you could have instead bought PlayStation, PS5, and have all these games plus, you know, Spider-Man, Uncharted, Last of Us, whatever, Ratchet and Clank, whatever else they have over there. Whereas here, you don't really have anything exclusive to you if they also have it. I understand that, um, but also if that's your main concern for over 5 years, yeah, over 5 years now, pretty much every exclusive on Xbox has been on PC. So that argument's been invalid for years now. So like, maybe should have seen this coming. Granted, Game Pass is a very very good value. Like my roommate is currently playing the Persona 3 remake. That's just on Game Pass.
mm,
Like you know, that's cool. We have that, so he has the game. He played Starfield that
right, you
way.
just
Like,
have it now.
yeah, we don't actually own a single physical game or digital. Like, we didn't buy anything for Xbox. We just have been paying for Game Pass for however long we've had it, and
Yeah, I
it's
mean
worked
that's all you
out.
really need, though. Yeah, I mean
It's
that's what
really
I'm
good
saying.
value.
Like, yeah, I mean it doesn't really matter. It's like I don't have this, but like,
Yeah,
do I really need it? Like,
yeah, as long as you play at least a couple of games up, every year, that's that's that value recuperated. So I really
mm,
don't know exactly how well that system has done for Xbox. Clearly, not enough in their internal
um,
ecosystem to be worth keeping everything like that. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah, that's rough. I don't know. Like that's just kind of like, well, I mean, because it's like, well, what do you like? What I mean, that just doesn't feel smart. It's just like, I mean, not smart, but it's just like your game. Like no one's gonna buy if they didn't buy it on
Yeah,
Xbox. What makes you think they're gonna buy it on a different console? They weren't even expecting to have it.
yeah. Like essentially, what happened was with Starfield specifically, it seemed like their the the world they envisioned was that everybody who wanted to play Starfield would have to buy an Xbox to play it, despite also
Mm-hmm.
being on PC and Bethesda games tend to have a pretty high PC usage. So that's not like, and a lot of PlayStation users have a PC anyway, so that's a little flawed. But regardless, if we're just talking consoles, I guess we're in a vacuum talking about consoles. Everybody who wants to play Starfield needs to buy an Xbox to play Starfield. But instead, it just kind of turned out that PlayStation players who maybe wanted to play Starfield just didn't buy it at all. They just were like, I guess I'll play something else. So, and all the people who did have an Xbox just got it on Game Pass, and which is
Yeah.
good value for them. But they spent $10 billion on Bethesda. I don't think that's good enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because it's kind of like, well, yeah, but like, sorry, like, I don't know, like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe try something else.
Yeah, and they're apparently going to be trying releasing stuff on PlayStation. So it's yeah, I really do. I would not be surprised if the series is the last Xbox.
Like, period?
Period.
You
Because
think it's
if
that bad?
so, let's put it this way: the Xbox
Okay.
One, the entire generation from 2013 to 2020, all the different iterations, all the price cuts, all the everything they tried to do to make it work, sold around 40 million units, which is really low in this day and age for
Right.
systems. To put that number in perspective, the PlayStation 4 sold about 120. So it leapfrogged it 3 times.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know about that.
And currently, at least in the US, but I think worldwide, the the Xbox Series is currently tracking slightly below where the Xbox was at this time in its lifespan,
Hmm.
which is pathetic.
Check.
It is like
Fired.
again they did everything right. They have the most powerful system this time. They have all these studios they've been been buying up over the past decade or so. Like they they have they have the games. PlayStation barely has any first party games to to really talk about. It's like I think it's like 4 games that are exclusive to PlayStation 5. Maybe.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't even know if that's even it.
Yeah. Um, actually, yeah, actually, I'm not sure about it if even that high because I can only really think of Spider-Man 2 and Demon Souls and Ratchet and Clank. So that's 3 that I could
Hmm.
think of. Maybe no, God of War was cross-gen, Horizon was cross-gen, Gran Turismo was cross-gen, The Last of Us there's ports. Like it's just yeah. Anyway, so like Xbox has a lot of exclusives, and it just still didn't. It just didn't seem to to make it worth it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actively losing money on the Xbox brand because they aren't putting it on other stuff, and if it does super well on other stuff, you know, Phil Spencer might just be well. I guess we're just going to be a software company now and
Oh,
go from there.
man, times are tough in the kingdom, huh?
Yeah,
That is
and
rough.
yeah, and I don't want that to happen. Don't get me wrong. I do not want that to happen at all because competition is key for any industry to thrive.
True.
And currently, Sony doesn't really see Nintendo as competition, despite Nintendo constantly just destroying them in almost every category. But regardless, like they both
Yeah.
do serve very different niches in the market. I get that. Xbox is their main direct competitor. Without Xbox, Sony might get a little,
A
um,
little.
yeah. Like imagine just how you know I don't think scummy is the right word. Just how ruthless Sony is right now with their pricing structure. Because I mean, Sony is the one that essentially spearheaded the $70 games discussion, and then Xbox just followed suit. Their revision to make the PlayStation smaller didn't lower the price somehow. Like a smaller PlayStation 5 is still $500 somehow. Um, and and the fact that they keep increasing PlayStation Plus prices. Like just everything they're doing more recently is solely like they can get away with because they're the market leader in the premium games market, as they tried to say, despite Nintendo also having $70 games and selling way more. Whatever. But because they don't see Nintendo as main competition and their main competition in Xbox is just whittling, they think they can get away with whatever. With Xbox non-existent and actually putting games on them, I feel like they could. They feel like they could rest on their laurels even more. So
Right, and they don't have to try it. It's like there's no reason to push the envelope if we're competing with ourselves. What are you gonna, what are
hmm
you gonna do? Not play video games?
yeah, and like I said, they already barely have produced any first party games this entire console generation, or almost 4 years in, and the best I could come up with was two sequels of a port, and or I guess that Demon Souls was like a remaster, and then a couple of remakes of Last of Us games. Like, that's about it as far as like PlayStation 5 exclusives. So if they just have Xbox games, um, you know, filling those gaps, we're never getting like the smaller games ever again because they just put all their money into $400 million Spider-Man games. That number is
Yeah.
barely an exaggeration, by the way.
I mean, yeah, that game was awesome, but still, yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. It's kind of like, yeah, what if you give them to that point where they just have no competition? It's like, what are you gonna do? Just you have to take it. There's no
hmm
alternative.
Yeah, and yeah, like I feel like I feel like if a company can get humbled, they can either rise from the ashes and just absolutely demolish next time, or completely whittle away. There's one of two ways you can go. For example, with Nintendo, the Wii was a massive success. The DS made them set for life. Those two systems combined sold over 360 million units.
Hmm.
Um, sorry, 260 million units. And then the very next generation, the Wii U, did not. The 3DS did well, but did half of what the DS did. Combined selling less, like around 90 million, like maybe 92 million, which the Wii did like a 105-ish million, which is a
Jeez.
crazy drop off from what they previously had done.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, they were super humbled by that. And then the very next generation, the Switch, they did
Pushed
absolutely
it
everything
again.
right as far as the time was concerned. And they're still doing very well to this day.
Yep.
I hope they keep that energy next time and don't, you know, just don't screw up whatever system comes next.
And I mean, they probably won't. I mean, and again, I know like we talk about it, like how like Sony and like Nintendo aren't really competitor, which like yeah, it's like they're video games, but I guess it's like because they're I don't want to say different kind of games, but they kind of feel like still their own categories.
Mm-hmm.
If it just comes down to those two, they'll kind of just stay in their respective lanes and thrive. Which I don't
Yeah.
worry about Nintendo because they're kind of already in their own lane and they still make groundbreaking games constantly, as we've seen in the last just
Mm-hmm.
couple of months. But yeah, Sony definitely probably would put the brakes on anything innovative because they don't have to. It's like, well, everyone likes video games, so deal.
Mm-hmm. Like already, the past several generations of Sony systems have just been upgraded graphics, and even from 4 to 5 is not that much better. So if the PS6 is just slightly better graphics and you know a slightly better controller, like after a while, that would I feel like eventually people would just kind of get tired of of that. I don't know for sure, but I feel
Yeah,
like that should be the case.
most
Not that
likely, yeah.
Xbox was really that much more innovative. Really, it was kind of more of the same, just better graphics with you know slightly better controller. At least Nintendo has been trying stuff. It doesn't always work, but at least they try stuff every time.
They do try stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't always. It's not always a winner.
Mm, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. The next couple. Even by next week, we'll know what Microsoft is planning on doing. But next, you know, 4 or 5 years with the next, PlayStation, potentially the next Xbox. But yeah, we'll see where all this heads. I really
If it
hope
does.
that 60, almost $70 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard was worth it for them.
I mean, it could, in fact, be a defining moment one way or the other. So,
Yeah, like I don't mean to say that Microsoft is going out of business. Far from it.
no.
Microsoft as a brand is a $3 trillion company. I'm not
Jeez.
exaggerating. They were market valued at $3 trillion last month.
Wait,
That number doesn't
seriously?
exist.
I mean, like, I get it with like computers and everything, but like 3 trillion seems ridiculous.
Yes. So, Microsoft, the brand, will be fine. I think Xbox as a brand might potentially, if there's no box, would you still say it's like if Halo, for example, did come to PlayStation, would you say that it's an Xbox game or would you say it's a Microsoft game?
I mean, it's Halo, so I would say Xbox because Halo's been a thing forever.
But there's no
But
box.
I mean, I get that, but I mean, Halo's an Xbox game forever, in my opinion, because it's been an Xbox game for
No, you're
how old
right.
is Halo now? Like 20 something years old,
2001,
at
so yeah,
least.
23.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you can't be that. You know what I mean? Like that's too far in to be like, yeah, that's not really an Xbox. You know what I mean? Like that's an
Yeah.
Xbox game.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I'm just literally, slight tangent. I literally had a dream last night about the Nintendo Switch 2. I wanted to come out today. In the dream, like the controllers had a little screen on it, or like if you're like you could take the controller with you and like play little games. It's like a
Oh my
little. It was like
gosh.
a thicker Joy-Con, but it was still just like a little LED
Like
screen.
little Game Boy controllers.
Yeah.
That would be wild. Do
I don't
we
think
need
they
a
do
Switch
that, but
2 though? I
who?
mean, the Switch is
Hmm?
already so good.
Do we need a Switch? Yes, we need a Switch too. Absolutely. Yes. The Switch has been out for going on 7 years. Um,
Oh wow, really?
the yeah
Yeah, I guess
the,
I'll
the
just late to the party.
yeah the Switch is running on technology from 2015. So the technology is almost 9 years old. Um, third party companies are already like pretty consistently stopping releasing on Switch, even if the game would do really well, like Persona 3 Reload. Like Persona, like all the other Persona games were eventually ported to Switch, and they did really well on Switch. And then the remake of 3 didn't get put on Switch. Like the rumor is it'll be put on Switch too, but like all like yeah, with just how much more powerful the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 are, third party companies are going back to ignoring the Switch. Also, even Nintendo's first party games like Pokemon don't run super great on it. So you even Zelda at times can chug a little bit. So up in just giving them a little more power would not be a bad thing. Yeah. Okay. Um, are there any other topics you want to bring up or discuss?
No, I think I'm good. I can't. I thought I had something earlier, but I lost it, so I don't. I think we're good.
Okay. Trying to decide. You know what? Nah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
We're doing it.
So, so I know
Uh
that you haven't seen the Percy Jackson show yet, but
oh. You
but
have the rant ready to go.
the show is good. I'm just gonna throw that out there. The show is good. It is very faithful to the books. There's some changes here and there, but overall, it is a very very good adaptation of the books. Like essentially, the only thing that I would really complain about is like certain things that are just by nature of it being an 8 episode Disney Plus show. Like some things are a little off paced. Sometimes scenes that are set at night aren't the best. You know how more recent like shows and movies are. You just can't see anything if it's dark. Um, but overall, a very very solid adaptation of the book. The movie, however,
Oh boy.
yeah, we're doing another bad movie backlog with Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Again, I know you haven't really read the books, but I know
I
you've
have
seen
seen this
the
movie
movie.
though.
Yeah. And if you have just seen the movie, I wouldn't necessarily blame you for thinking that it's an okay movie. Like the the overall story is fine. The CG,
Uh,
especially for the time, is actually pretty solid. It holds up. The characters are fine for a movie. As an adaptation, it is terrible. Like just going over the very very limited number of things I actually kind of liked about the movie. Um, uh, Percy. So Percy's whole thing is that he's a demigod. He's half god, half human, and because of that, his brain is wired where like as far as like every day to day in day to day activities, it's it like it, his abilities kind of come across as if he has ADHD and dyslexia, but that's really his brain being hard coded to like read ancient Greek, be battle ready, and just live in the like not real, I guess real to him, in that Greek realm.
mhm.
So him actually constantly throughout the movie like being able to read Greek without Greek lettering, I think is a very nice touch. That's something even the show doesn't really touch on. Um, the main character who plays Percy is actually pretty solid. Definitely the best like cast person in the movie. Um, Again, as an adaptation, the rest of the cast is pretty bad. And one just really funny little detail about the movie is when Percy first gets to camp, he wakes up and like in the infirmary because he was just attacked by the Minotaur, and he has a conversation with Grover, his like protector satyr,
Mhm.
and they're walking out of the infirmary, and there's just like an archery course right next to the infirmary, and like twice throughout the movie they like almost hit. It's like that has to be like
This can't be safe, right?
that can't be safe. Like sure, like that either implies that the camp does not care about the safety, or so many people just like the archery range was somewhere else, and so many people walked in front of it when it was somewhere else. They decided to move it closer that way accidents could be treated faster.
Well, that's horrible.
Yes, yes, it does. So that's about all I actually liked about the movie. Going over things, just general things that are really, really bad as far as like an adaptation goes. The exposition in this movie is absolutely garbage. Like they either just like rush through things, skip over very, very important aspects of the book to the point where they clearly did not expect to get a sequel. Like so much stuff that was set up for future stories was completely left out of this movie. To the point where when the sequel did actually happen, they had to like backtrack on stuff that they specifically changed so that it would make sense if this movie got a sequel, but that movie wasn't getting a sequel, so why bother? um, and probably my absolute favorite line for this entire movie that just expresses just how bad this movie is at expressing information. So in 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 one of the earlier scenes in the movie, Percy is in a classroom and he's like, you know, like he's called on by the teacher to read something she wrote on the board, and he like tries to read it, but like the words get all scrambled because of his dyslexia, and he can't he can't read it. And then immediately after that scene, when he gets home, his mom asks like, "How was school today?" He's like, "Not great. I think my dyslexia is getting worse." And then she goes, "What makes you say that?" And he's like, "I don't know. Maybe it's the ADHD." Like, what does that mean? What? Hey, in context, what does that mean? What what do those words mean put together? My dyslexia is bad because I have ADHD. That doesn't. Those don't really like they can coexist, but they don't really interact with each other, like, as far as I know. But also, clearly, the writers didn't know a good way to show that Percy has ADHD, so they decided to just say it randomly.
Just tell you, not show you.
Yeah, like clearly these people have never interacted with anybody with ADHD. There's
Yes.
so many tells. They just they didn't know how.
It's like you keep using that word. I don't think you know what it
Yeah.
means.
Okay. Um. So in the book, it is astronomically important to the entire franchise that Percy is the only is like seemingly known as the only living child of one of the big three: Zeus, Hades, Poseidon.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because a in the book a pact was formed between the big three after World War II to so that they would never have kids ever again because their kids were directly responsible for World War II happening.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, our kids are too powerful. We can't have this. So it is incredibly important that the audience knows that it is a big deal that Percy is a son of Poseidon. And that's also why in the books and the show, which you'll see, Poseidon never contacts Percy. He never like he never even shows him any kind of sign that he knows he exists or anything until he is like specifically like claimed by Poseidon like well into the book.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, in the movie, it's established very early on that Zeus just arbitrarily decided that none of the gods can talk to any of their children. Like it's not just Percy. Like Annabeth mentioned that like, oh, all the gods can't talk to their children, except throughout the movie several times Poseidon like is talking to like giving him like instructions of how to do stuff. It's like the one character who shouldn't be doing this under any circumstances. This is the only one that can, apparently. And then when Percy gets to camp, the first thing that happens is Percy is shown to his cabin. In the books, each of the 12 main pantheon gods have like their own cabin that their demigod children live in. The
Mm-hmm.
first thing that happens is Percy is escorted to his cabin, Poseidon's cabin. In the book, they spend a long time at camp where Percy is specifically put in the Hermes cabin because that was the cabin that was arbitrarily decided to be for both Hermes's kids and also any children that haven't been claimed yet or just don't have a cabin to go to or whatever reason that is like they go there. So Percy
Mm.
spends a lot of time with other kids who have been claimed, who don't feel they belong here. Luke, the main bad guy of the series, is like the head of that camp. He's the head of that cabin. He actually is a son of Hermes, but he you know lived with these other kids that haven't been claimed and feel ostracized from this entire world. Like that kind of helps it reinforce his views of that the gods maybe need to change their ways, whether by force or otherwise. Yeah, doesn't ever come up. That aspect never comes up in the entire.
They just completely dropped it.
Yep.
I mean,
Like Percy is that's in the book. Percy is put in his Poseidon cabin like after he's officially claimed it, like a third of the way through the book. So, um, and this next one's a little like it's a small thing, but it still annoys me. In the first movie, they encountered the Hydra, yet the Hydra didn't show up until the second book. I don't know, like they fought a Chimera at that point where like they didn't go to the same location, but like at that point in the story, they fought a Chimera. You could have just had a Chimera be where the Hydra physically was, but no, it was just Hydra. Sure, whatever. Um, and like the last like main general thing is that the underworld in Greek mythology is very intentionally like super mundane. It's a punishment to go there, but not really like it's not like the main like the biblical hell where there's like lakes of fire and souls screaming and like punish. It's not like
mm-hmm.
eternal punishment. It's just more eternal mundanity. Yeah, the movie is just here we go. We're it pans out to Hades and it's just a big lake of fire with the souls screaming and this is exactly not what it's supposed to be. And Hades can like turn into a big fiery devil monster. Man, not at all. in the book, in the book, it's the the they send Percy on this quest to go to the underworld to confront Hades because they think that he at least is the one responsible for stealing the lightning bolt. So like you need to
Mm-hmm.
go there to talk to him about this. But they don't know that he stole it. In fact, he didn't have a part of it at all. In the movie, Hades like takes Percy's mom, like that did happen in the book, but then he just like at 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 camp at night, he just like rises out of out of the campfire in his big demon form and just starts throwing fireballs, just like Percy, bring me the bolt and I'll release your mom. You got 24 hours or whatever. I don't think he actually said that, but like but that the
It
kind of
was it
vibe.
was that vibe.
Yeah, and then like, well, I guess I'm going. Except no, because Chiron, the centaur guy who's like head of camp, he very specifically in the movie is telling Percy not to go. When his entire goal in like his he's he's the one that suggests in the book in the show that Percy go on this quest in the first place. In the movie, he's like, no, we must do this more diplomatically. We got to go talk to. You just got to go to the Olympus and convince Zeus of your innocence. Like you can't go on this quest. They're going to. Okay.
It's like, stop it. Let me go do the plot. Like,
Right? So, so next, I'm gonna talk about Annabeth, the like main girl love interest person.
yeah, it's
So she,
Alexander Dario's character, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She might as well not be named Annabeth. She is a completely different character. She's a daughter of Athena, who is the goddess of wisdom, battle strategy, and you know, generally you'd think would be a pretty smart character, one who could easily figure things out, find solutions for things, like, you know,
Be helpful in
some
any way.
yeah, she does diddly squat in the entire movie. She, in the book, she has this New York Yankees baseball cap that was the gift from her mom that when she puts on, she turns invisible. And there are several times throughout the books that this baseball cap is pivotal to to get out of certain situations. To it just helps with general strategy in certain ways. Never brought up in the movie ever. There are several times throughout the movie where a thing where you could sneak past enemies would be very helpful, but nope, never
Hmm.
happened. Never came up.
Just don't do it for
Yep.
some
There's
reason.
there's a when they're at the Parthenon Museum in Nashville, and like they get there, and like they get there in the middle of the day where the room is crowded, and they see one of the pearls they need to get out of the underworld. I'll get to that more in a second. They see it like at the top of an Athena, like a big Athena statue, and Percy and she goes, "How are we gonna get it with all these people here?" And Percy's like, "I got an idea." So they just like camp out in the bathrooms, and then at night they come back out, and they're like, "Oh no, there's five cleaning people who are sanitizing after the day. What are we gonna do?" And then Annabeth is like, "I got this," and then she pulls out a crossbow and stuns them all.
She what?
She pulls out a crossbow out of nowhere and
It's like,
and
you
just
had
like
that the whole time?
shoots sleeping darts at them. It's like in both situations, if she had the baseball hat, she easily could have just climbed up there invisible and gotten it, but nope. starts shooting. And then they all woke up and turned
Anyway,
into
she
the house.
started blasting.
Yeah. And then during that fight, she pulls out a random bow and arrow out of nowhere. Literally, like she's hiding behind a pillar at one point. Percy is like flying around on the boots doing something, and it's like, Percy, no. And then she like jumps out and just has a bow, seemingly out of nowhere. She wasn't established that one before or after this scene. She just has this bow right.
She just has it now.
Yeah.
She never uses it again?
I don't think so. No. Um, but my absolute favorite part that they just got completely wrong about Annabeth is in the book. The big like first act climax thing is there's this there's this big game of capture the flag.
Hmm.
Like they split the cabins down between, I think it's like, I don't know exactly how they split them, but like in the books, the Hermes camp and the Athena camp, or Hermes cabin and Athena cabin, are on the same side. Luke, the head of the Hermes cabin, and Annabeth actually both came to the camp at the same time, so like they have a history. Like they literally more or less grew up together. Never brought up in the movie, but that's not important.
Clearly.
Like every time Luke and Annabeth interact, it's just, oh, he's just a guy who I know who's here who can help, I guess. I get more into that in a second. But and it is like a very important part of this capture the flag that Annabeth like specifically stations Percy in a spot where Claire Reese, who is the head of the Ares cabin, who like has a vendetta against Percy for embarrassing her for some reason, um, to like distract Clarice and like a couple other Ares kids while they go get the flag. In the
That
movie,
worked.
in the movie, Annabeth is just inexplicably on the opposite side of this game. Luke just randomly like is like, Percy, you're on my team. Which it's the way the scene is shot is so weird because Chiron is like, Percy, come here. Like Percy will need a team for this capture the flag game, and all the kids are like, I don't like, they're like him, like, yeah, I don't know. It's like he, you know, he killed the Minotaur. You know, he is a child of Poseidon, and no one cares. And then Luke, the first time he's in this movie, comes up as like, we'll take him. No reason, I don't know. Because
Like,
that's
yeah, I
where
guess
he
we'll
needs to
it's a
be.
little poor staff.
And then yeah, Annabeth is the leader of the opposite team, and and like during the capture the flag scene, Percy finds the flag, and then like he's like about to grab it, and Annabeth just like jumps down and is like, "You really think I make it that easy for you?" It's like, wow, it would have been nice if like that ambush would have come from a place he couldn't see you from with a some kind of magical art. But no, just jump down and they start fighting and she obliterates them. And then he like, and then like, but like as they're fighting, there's like this huge crowd of people from both teams just starts forming around them. It's like, are y'all not playing the game anymore?
We just
Like, is no one going
watching.
after the blue team's flag? Okay. So Annabeth whips him, and he like falls into he like gets over to water, and like that gives him a power up, and then he like beats three people in a row, and then like disarms Annabeth. And because he beat their general, they just let him walk over to the flag and take it. Just like, oh yeah, the daughter of the goddess of battle strategy just didn't think to didn't think to tell her guys to go get the flag. We're all gonna
Or
stay
like,
right
I
here.
mean, that's my thing. I'm like, everyone's just watching. I'm like, is no one just like picking up after this? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd literally be in the background, like, oh yeah, get him.
Exactly. Yep.
Also, that probably would have been a better like gotcha moment. Everyone's doing all this, and then it's just like, all right, game's over. Wait, we're still fighting. Yeah, but all your flags are gone because the other team was smart enough to see you guys
Hmm.
distracting each other.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it plays in the show and the book. Like Clarice is putting all her resources into to trying to one up Percy because she has a vendetta against him. And like after Clarice does at least seemingly beat Percy, like the other team is like running, like his team's running back over the border with their flag. It's like, oh no, we like, I may have kind of beaten Percy, but we lost the war. Like that's
Yeah,
what happened. But no, in the show, he's the main character. He's got to be the hero of this scene.
for some reason.
Okay, moving on to the last like section of this rant. Luke, Luke might be the dumbest person
Oh,
to ever exist. His
that is
motives,
a high bar.
his motives are incomprehensible. So let me try to break this down. So, so his like grand idea is that he feels like this new generation of demigods should basically rule Olympus and like overthrow the pantheon. It explained in a very meandering and dumb way. But that's like what his claimed motives are. He wants the current gods to die so that Luke and whoever else can take over. Um, so he I think he maybe wants Hades to get the Master Bolt, but that didn't. I don't really know why that would really help his goal. If the gods were gonna go to war anyway, like Hades doesn't want any part of that, so why would him having the Master Bolt affect anything? Whatever. But in the book, the uh, Luke before Percy leaves on his mission, Luke gives him these magic shoes that he can fly with, and they're cursed in a specific way that once he gets close to the pit of Tartarus, it'll like pull him into it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and also shenanigans happen where Percy would also be like currently carrying the Master Bolt when that happens, so that would be like all that would be thrown into the pit of Tartarus. So Zeus would just never have it ever again. Like that makes sense. But in the movie, Luke Luke gives Percy these shoes. He Percy uses the shoes a couple of times. They never seem cursed. They never seem to like be any hindrance at all. So I really don't know why Luke gave them to him if he specifically didn't want Percy to live through this experience. he he also gave Percy this shield that's not from the book. He gave him this shield that like kind of hidden inside the shield is the Master Bolt, which didn't reveal itself until he was talking to Hades, which Hades would have killed Percy whether or not he had the Master Bolt. Like it was going that way in the movies. Like
Mm.
you think I don't know you have it, give it to me or I'll kill you, and then he would have killed him regardless. So I don't know why you would give it to him. In fact, I think Luke would want to have it in like the logic that the movie tried to give him. It was as if he should just keep it, but no, he gave it to Percy to try to. I don't know. And he also gave Percy this map to specific places that had these pearls that if you step on they can teleport you out of the underworld. But he very specifically before the climax told Percy, I didn't think you would make it out of this alive. Then why did you give him all of the things that are necessary for him to get out of this alive? the map the map literally already tells you where the underworld where the underworld opening is located. So just say, oh, it's over there in Hollywood. So they just go there without the way to get out. Like you didn't have to give them the way out. Like these pearls exist in the book, but they're kind of given to him by like a surrogate of Poseidon, so, like as kind of a way to help how he can. But no, like like in the book, essentially like the main obstacles are just kind of things that happenstantially happen kind of throughout their journey. They're not literal like fetch quests in order to get to the final final boss.
Right.
um, and then after all that, he he's about to return the Master Bolt to Zeus. Like he's about to go into Olympus, and then Luke just shows up out of nowhere, and then they have an absolutely terrible fight. like like Luke just also has a pair of these flying shoes, and They're both just flying around New York, and at one point, Luke like very menacingly just like points it at a helicopter, is about to just kill people for no reason. Again, just
They have to make sure you know
incomprehensible
who the
motives, I
bad
guess.
guy is.
Like, and then at the end, despite literally seeing all the things that Percy has done throughout this point, he like Luke thinks he beats Percy, and he's like, maybe you aren't a son of Poseidon. He's like about to hit him with a lightning bolt. But like you know that he is though, because he literally controls water. You've seen him do that. I don't know why you would say that. And then Percy like gets up, makes a trident out of water, and, like, yeah, I think I am a son of Poseidon, and then throws it at him, and like, and the trident hits Luke, I guess in a way where it like catches him in between two of the prongs, and he gets slammed into the water down below. Like he should be dead from that, but
Yep.
there's a sequel, so whatever. In the book, in the book, Luke like essentially like after Percy gets back, like takes he takes Percy uh, out into the woods. There's like talking about the adventure, and then um, Luke like betrays him by like I think he like summons us. He he has this sword that can like open portals. Where he can teleport. He either summons or has like a little scorpion that poisons Percy, so he's able to like get away. It's like, either you're with me or you're not. Like, I'm not with you. Okay, poison, and then he gets away. It's not some big stupid climax. It's not like there is a climax, but it's not this. It's much more subtle, and I like that a lot more for the Luke's character.
But of course,
Of course, no,
couldn't be.
couldn't be. Yeah, it's just again just as an adaptation, and like as I was watching the show, which again, like I really didn't even spoil that much because this movie was so different that there will be things that are still surprising to you in the show. So I still highly recommend watching the show.
Hmm.
Um, like watching the show, I'm like, oh yeah, because I hadn't read the book in years. I don't even think I'd read it. I'd read it since watching the movie whenever I did. So like my memories of the story are kind of like at the time were kind of like fused together, but just so many things just made so much more sense if like with the logic of the world. It's like, oh yeah, that like yeah, Percy would just do that, or yeah, Annabeth would have this magic cap that could help in this situation. Like yeah, it's yeah, it's kind of a fun ride, especially if you haven't read the books. It's a decent enough movie, I guess. Like it at least has a beginning, middle, and end. It at least has decent CGI, decent enough action scenes that are serviceable. Like it's a decent enough. It's a service. I'll say it's a serviceable movie, but as an adaptation, just just terrible.
I mean, that's the thing with a lot of these remakes, live action remakes. So it's like they're not horrible if they're just doing their own thing,
Mm,
but they're not. They're trying to be adaptations. They're trying to be remakes. They're taking ideas that already exist and then just ignoring the source material, except
mhm.
for like the names. And then it's just like, why didn't you just write your own story? Like if you
Yeah,
were just gonna
like
completely ignore how it was written, why even
mhm.
do it at all?
Yeah, like we were mentioning before with Avatar, it's like it's almost like this movie was written by someone who just like read a very short synopsis of what happened, and then or had someone badly explain it to him, and then he's like, "Oh, I guess I'll just do that." Like he didn't actually read it or have anyone on the team that read it. And this was made by Christopher Columbus, who made the first two Harry Potter movies, Home Alone. Like he's made like a lot of solid stuff. And like the first two Harry Potter movies aren't one-to-one adaptations, but they are way better adaptations than this movie is. At least get enough right where if you're reading the book, it's like, oh, that's a little different, but it doesn't like change my perspective of the movie. Later Harry Potter sequels do that, actually the fourth one, but like the first two are pretty solid adaptations. I don't know what happened with this movie.
Yeah, it just yeah, that's the thing. It's just kind of I don't know. I think like you said, I think a lot of times people just kind of oh, this was successful. Let me change it and do it in live action. And then it's almost like you just want a head start on your audience. It's like I hate to say this, but it's like that Joker movie. It's like
Mm.
the movie didn't really have anything to do with the Joker. It was kind of just a guy who
Mm.
like went crazy and started a whole like
And
revolution
Thomas
or
Wayne
whatever.
was
But
also there.
yes, but like not at all. Like that's what I'm saying. But because it was the Joker, it made way more money than it would have been if it was just some
Mm-hmm.
guy. So like I guess it's kind of one of those things where it's like they're clearly just trying to like I don't want to say pander. Like I'm not even sure what the word is, but like I don't know. It's like a fake out. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're clearly just gonna write your own story using like the name recognition,
Yeah.
and then it's you know what I mean. It's like that's so I feel so messed up. Like it's not even
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just and it's just so I feel like it should be easy not to get fundamental things about the story incorrect, but like the first chapter of the book is literally called "I blew up my English teacher" or something to that effect. Like his English teacher turns out to be a fury. She attacks him. He's given the pin sword and like instinctually stabs her and she explodes. In the movie, Chiron just comes in and scares her away. She flies out a window, never be seen again. So like that just like the name of the first chapter of the book doesn't happen in this movie. Amongst many other issues, but that's the first
Right.
thing that happens. It's wrong.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I do kind of appreciate Christopher Columbus when making this movie. He casted actors who were a little older because I'm sure you know Daniel Radcliffe and Watson, all them. I'm sure they were fine enough as far as child actors go, but I wouldn't be surprised if he specifically casted these people who were already like in their early 20s because he just didn't want to deal with child actors anymore. It's like I kind of respect that. Like,
I mean,
and it's not like they still tried to set them in the middle school age. They set them in a high school, so at least there's
yeah,
they kind of
and
corrected for
and you
that.
gotta remember like like this is mid 2000s. Like that's everything. Like every
Yeah,
movie, every TV show that they're like, oh, they're high schoolers and they're like 25. But I
yeah.
mean,
Andrew Garfield
that's
was
just
like
how it.
30 during Amazing
That's what I'm
Spider-Man.
saying.
Yeah, so I, I after you do watch the Percy Jackson show, I do kind of recommend watching this movie after it just to just to have
To
a laugh of like, oh,
compare and
that's
be like,
just
oh,
yeah,
just this is
yeah.
awful.
And again, the show isn't a perfect adaptation, but because Rick Riordan, the guy who wrote the books, is a creative lead on the show, it is pretty close. Like, there's a couple of things that they change or leave out, but like it's barely a big deal. It's 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 about as good as I would hope an 8 episode Disney Plus adaptation of this book could be. So yeah,
They do the best they can with what they. I mean, no, they don't. They do. I don't know, man. I just don't get it. I don't see the reasoning why you would.
Nope.
I don't know. I guess I just don't like the whole concept where it's just like, oh yeah, let's just do the same thing. Like, let's just do what we want to do, but because we're too lazy or scared that we won't get a clientele, let's
Mm-hmm.
just name it something else, but
Yeah.
then use
Like
our
we want to
ideas.
make it easy to get into for people who haven't read the books. So we're going to alienate our audience with people who have and make a different thing.
But that's not
Yeah.
even like. I mean, the thing. I mean, my thing about that is like that's not even like doing that. Like, oh, we're easing the. No, no, you're not. You're just making it different. Like, you're not doing
Mm-hmm.
anything. You're not doing anyone any favor. You're not doing new people any favors.
Yep.
Because again, how it was fun. Like, if something was like notably complicated and then you made it easier, it's like, okay, that's one thing. But it's not like everyone was like, yeah, these books didn't make any sense. But it's like, once you get into it, yeah, it's like, it's a children's book. It's not that,
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, I mean, if elementary school kids got it, no problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's really that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah. At some point, I'm gonna talk to you about the sequel because it is somehow even worse. I don't have time right now, and it's a it's a it's a trip. But yeah, just as far as the first one goes, it's just I don't know what this how this movie released in the state it was, considering I guarantee 20th Century Fox. I'm sure they were hoping for this to be their the next Harry Potter, like the next big franchise
Oh, of course.
series. But like I said, so many things about the core elements of this series were completely left out or changed entirely to the point where I swear they were hoping they wouldn't get a sequel. But oh well.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
Anyway, okay. Anything else
not
you want
that
to bring
great.
up or discuss?
That's all I've got from here.
Okay, so with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care, everyone.